everybody. I talked to John Perry from Greene County First to come down here and shoot a quick video that explains his products. And I have Keith Bass here. He's my product manager in procurement. He's going to talk about why we chose to go with these products and the timing of it. As a lot of you guys know, we've changed our program up, and we've been talking about it for a while. So this is the time we're going to introduce it for you. So sit back, and we got some Q&As coming. Walt Pettigrew is behind the camera, and he's my marketing director. And Paul is off camera, but he's going to be asking questions, and he's our operations manager. But hey, let's get started. This guy doesn't have anything really to do with this video, but this is my man David, and he pretty much runs the warehouse and the office. I guess we could call him
warehouse manager.
Warehouse manager?
Yeah.
He's my warehouse manager. Anyway, I just wanted to give him some camera time, and now we can get on to the real matter at hand.
Peace.
Without further ado, here's John Perry. John Perry, Keith, y'all step on up.
What's up, buddy?
Hey man,
How are
what's
you?
up, baby boy?
Oh, it's good to see you. Keith?
John?
Always good to see you, my friend.
Just say you.
All right, let's go.
Question number one, Walt, what do you got for us?
Hey John, can you tell us something about the Green Pop product that we're using on our round one?
Absolutely. So one thing I'm pretty excited about with Green Pop, we did some cool university studies with that last year, taking it through establishment trials on Bermuda, really doing some warm season stuff to show how effective it is at growing in grass, making it thicker, denser, better canopy for everything, greater color, I mean, you name it. And to put it into the program, and where we're really beneficial this year having it down here, is with the cold snap that happened and the damage that happened, the energy that was provided in the Green Pop coming out of the gate and what's upcoming is going to help the turf recover faster and ultimately have less damage, which is really a good benefit to all your customers.
The next question I have is about the liquid aeration product that we use. Can you explain to our customers a little bit about the benefits of liquid aeration versus core aeration and why this is a better solution? Other than the obvious, I'm not going to break your sprinkler heads.
Sure. Well, I might say that anyway. So there's a couple of things I think that are really important to note about the liquid aeration. And sometimes it's called chemical aeration. There's sort of a bunch of different ways you can look it up. But if you haven't had a chance to search on it, go on to Google, type in Aerate, and see what comes up, because there's so much good information out there. But let me hit you with the high points on why this is such good material, especially for the soils that are around here with the high amounts of lime and high pH and all of the things you're dealing with. One of the biggest benefits of Aerate is increased drainage and increased water holding capacity of the plant itself. So any water that you're getting down is going to make it down into the ground, and it's going to be more plant available, which leads to less stress. The beauty of that is actually you're going to have better rooting, which is also helping with the whole aeration of the soil, because the more plant life that you get underground, the better it is for the plant overall, especially in those times of stress. So we've been able to sort of create a way to give you all the benefits of a mechanical aeration without pulling plugs and causing the mess, which is that increased rooting, increased thatch reduction, basically just a healthier plant with a more arable soil.
I saw an independent study that said your liquid aeration was actually more effective than the core aeration. And the reason why, well, I'll tell you, one of the main reasons why I wanted to try the liquid aeration and give it a shot is because, well, for one thing, all the irrigation repairs I was having to do. But for another, like the 2 times a year you aerate are spring and fall. And that also happens to be the 2 times a year that we're putting down pre-emergent. So I put a pre-emergent down and come across it with the core aerator, and I just obliterated my pre-emergent barrier pretty much. Another huge selling point for me was, Keith tries out any new product before we try it. And then I'm gonna let him talk about the Green Pop too, and about, what he saw when he tested it out. But when we were trying out this liquid aerate, I said, hey Keith, just aerate half my yard. Don't even tell me which half it is, and then I'm gonna see if I can tell the difference. And what was it, probably like 4 or 5 days later?
Yeah.
Like I thought Keith was gonna do like half of this yard, like this side do it and this half not, but no, he kind of went around and did a path, and I could see his walking path of where he went, after only like 4 days. That's how effective it was.
So one of the things that we have heard is that with the liquid aeration, it allows the roots to go deeper and broader. How does this kind of happen in going through the soil, right? Because don't the roots follow the opening, and they're following the water, and they're following the nutrients, and that's what really the liquid aeration just helps that pathway way?
Absolutely. So a couple of things on that, if just from a purely mathematical side. Aerate, when applied to the soil, within the first 28 days of its application, had about a 4.5 or 5% reduction in surface tension, which is what's going to keep water from getting down into the soil, so the soil being tighter. So it had a reduction in tension. That alone, just allowing that extra water penetration, was a big deal. So as water does set down and it starts to drain through the soil, roots need to chase it in order to get bigger. Overall, in the course of the study, with no fertilizer applied, we gained about a 44% root mass over the course of like 5 months is what it was, and that included slough off and all the things that warm season grass does, in comparison to having nothing applied, which was only going to give you like a 2 or 3% increase in root mass. So there's just enough of a kick with the product to get things moving in the subsoil to really give you a greater benefit of everything that you put down, including any other fertilizer. So the greater root mass that we have, the greater effectiveness that the fertilizer has, which also lets the grass stay greener longer and really just
water
makes it look better.
Well, it includes water.
Yeah.
Like when you water, it gets down to the root zone more efficiently with less runoff. You know, it has the same benefits as the core aeration without the setbacks, really, and it's more effective. I don't have a lot of experience with the green pop, Keith. I know you tried it out, and we put it down in all our first round applications. What's in the green pop, and what have you noticed personally from, your test?
Well, in round one, we always did the RGS, which was a humic, a fulvic, and a sea kelp. So when we met with John and his sales guys, we're trying to come up with something we could get some phosphorus into the soil, get the roots down deeper early in the year, so we can eliminate some drought stress. And so with this mix, it has that RGS in it, it has the fulvic and the sea kelp in it. It also has a little bit of liquid aerate. Plus it has a high ounce of phosphorus, which helps push those roots down into the soil. So we're hoping we'll see in this spring better results. And most of these stuff we get, John is real good about sending us samples. Like Luke said, we sample them on the owner's yard before we put them on your lawn. So my lawn, I test them on my lawn, operations managers. So the managers' houses get treated as a test before they actually come to the customer.
It was a really good year to do this too, because we just had this is 2021, and I'm sure hopefully people will be watching this video past this year, but we had historic freeze that we've never had ever in the history of Texas, as far as I can see, going way back over 100 years. And that phosphorus and that green pop and the liquid aerate, I think it's going to pay huge dividends when it comes time for lawns coming out of dormancy and actually protecting the lawns through the freeze. Not to mention, in most areas of the country, grubs have a certain season. Well, here in Texas, we don't really have a season, and we've had up until that freeze, we had a relatively mild winter, and grubs have a tendency to feed all winter long, but you don't know it because the grass is brown, and you won't know it until springtime comes and lawn starts coming up, and then you notice it's real patchy and spongy, and then you realize you had a grub problem, even if you did a grub application, the summer or spring before, because they only last so long. And so getting that phosphorus down early, even if you're not putting nitrogen down for the top growth, because that's not going to grow, but the roots never stop growing. And so that's another reason why it's really important, like protects freeze damage, and also, any grub damage that's occurred, it'll help that recover and protect it as well.
One of the things that I've just found very interesting with your new program is really how you've designed it so that each application builds upon the other. So we have the green pop that has come out in round one. We're really recommending people put down the liquid aeration in the early spring, but then also how does top dressing and liquid aeration kind of go hand in hand with one another?
Man, well, we've always done some kind of aeration with top dressing, because you want that compost to be able to get down into the soil and the root zone, more efficiently and quickly as possible. And so when you aerate, all the nutrients and the compost, when it's breaking down, you don't want to just stay on top of the ground. You want it to get down in the soil and make the soil better. That's why it's so important. Our top dressers, they go out with a tank and they're aerating every lawn before they're putting the compost down, on the turf.
So before we let you go, John, could you talk a little bit about the dethatch product? We've elected to go ahead and add it to our summer applications on our Bermuda lawns. And can you just kind of explain about why we're doing it, what the benefit is?
Okay, again, so a lot of these materials build on top of each other. It's kind of like making a better sandwich, right? You're constantly putting things to improve the soil and improve the turf throughout the season. And the dethatch actually has a few things going for it that are a bit more unique. One would be some live cultures in it, which are going to add to some soil biology. There's this digestive enzyme in there that helps to kind of break down dead matter that might have built up in the spring from maybe mowing too heavy or getting any sort of extra buildup across the soil surface. And then it also has a couple other sugars and things like that, which will, again, more boost some of that soil microbial activity. So the summertime is when you start to hit peak action with microbes and with soil life. Everything's kind of moving at a higher pace as temperatures increase. And so we're giving them an additional energy source to sort of chew up things that could potentially hold up either nutrients getting stuck before they're able to make it into the soil and into the root, or what might be keeping water from getting down into the soil because you have too much dead matter right there on the soil surface. It's just going to aid in the overall uptake. Plus, again, you get that benefit of greater rooting and overall more efficient fertilizers applied alongside it.
Would it aid in any kind of disease prevention or anything of that matter?
I can answer that one. Yes, and I'll tell you why, because we have a lot of customers, and we're going to be using this on only our Bermuda lawns in the summertime, and it's going to be included in our mix, as a matter of fact, because there's a lot of Bermuda in this market, and a lot of our customers don't have the time or can't afford to have their lawn mowed every 2 weeks, or every week, So a lot of times they go 2 weeks or more, or no matter how many times you tell them like mow short, they're still going to mow tall. And so whenever they mow, especially if they're mowing it every 2 or 3 weeks, that thatch builds up in a huge way. And then you have the insects like the Bermuda mites and grubs. They kind of live underneath that thatch layer, and disease too. They live underneath that thatch layer, and then no matter how, like helmet leaf spot, like no matter how many times we treat it, if that thatch is so thick, and it's just an ongoing battle. And our goal is to use as few pesticides as possible to get the job done. We like to use organic as much as possible, but we'll use whatever we need to get the job done. So this is another tool in our toolbox to keep the pesticide use, like fungicides and insect controls, down. Plus we can get better results from our fertilizers, like John said.
That's awesome.
We have a lot of diseases that create hydrophobic areas of the soil.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we talked about when we elected to go with this is, will this help those kind of problems, be resolved without getting crazy?
Well, here's something really cool, and this came out of the studies with Aerate as well. So whenever we do studies, we put it up against other things, so with this it was mechanical aeration, and then we added a couple of our own other products into it as well. So when we did a combo of the Aerate and the RGS, those two together, we had almost 190% increase in root mass. So Aerate alone, and none of those are fertilizers, right? They're just stimulating the plant, and they're working with the soil in order to make things grow. And so the two together, which is why the Green Pop's super powerful, because we've got a measure of that in that product, is it just helps to blow the roots out and just get them moving. Now, another thing that's really interesting is in the summertime, particularly in Bermuda, but really in warm season grasses, you have a slough off of your roots, and they'll shed significantly.
When you say slough off, what do you mean?
It means the roots kind of die back and they go into the soil.
Kind of shrink and they just rot off.
And they become soil food, right? And so the more of them that you have down there, you create a sponge effect that can actually hold more water, and it gives everything to sort of feed off of, and it actually is like an extra layer of fertilizer that the plant provides for itself. And it'll shed 60%, 70% of its roots in August. And then it all builds back up into the fall, like what you were saying. So there's a time where if we can be piling in root mass and it's coming to that stressful and really dry time, those roots slough off, they provide like another layer for water to kind of get held up into, and then it just keeps the plant cruising right through.
So with the Green Pop, like Keith and the others have discussed, we're going to be putting that on everybody's lawn. We feel that it's that important that everybody gets it. The Liquid Aerate is another great product. We want to do that twice a year, and we'll be contacting you, or you can contact us about it. It's a great product, and it's really going to help everything else perform better.
Plus, it's less expensive than a core aerator, and you don't have to worry about your irrigation system.
There's a lot of benefits, as Luke has discussed. Aside from that, it's very non-invasive, so to speak, on your property. It doesn't leave a mess. That's a huge thing. I have pets. We applied it to my lawn. I can't tell you how many times the dog has tracked in mud from from that kind of stuff, and it's just done a much better job.
Question. I had heard that core aeration really only covers about 20% of the lawn, just the way that things are spread out. But aren't we getting better coverage, the customer getting better coverage when we're putting this liquid aeration down over 100% of the lawn area?
This covers 100% of the area, that's correct. Where the holes that they punch and they pull the cores are, what, 2 inches apart, 3 inches apart. So the best we can do, is going to be every 3 inches pulling a core out, allowing it to resettle. This just works on every single piece of the plant. It's much better product, and we will be continuing to use it moving forward. The liquid dethatch, also super excited about using this year. Everybody that has a Bermuda lawn is going to be getting this product on their lawn in the summertime. Rounds 5 and 6 will include that, along with some liquid fertilizer. We feel that we've been getting a lot of questions about the thatch and what do I do about thatch? Well, this is going to be a way that we've included for it to work without being very invasive. Once again, I don't know if anybody's used a power rake or a dethatcher, but they create a huge mess in the lawn, and it's a lot of work. This here, chemical reaction, takes care of a lot of the problem for us, and we don't have to worry about it.
Just as a quick wrap up so we can go eat, I want to thank John Perry for coming all the way down here just for this video, and also the promise of barbecue. Thank you, Paul and Keith, for taking time out of your busy day to get some camera time and
Some barbecue, great food.
be a little famous for a little bit. Also, if you guys have any questions, you can just email us here at Emerald Lawns. You can go to our website, emeraldlawns.com. My email is luke@emeraldlawnsaustin.com, and I would be happy to converse with you. Anyway, I really want to appreciate you being a customer or thinking about being a customer, and whatever I can do to make you a customer or make you a happier customer, you just let me know. Thanks, guys.
Luke, can they have your personal cell phone number as well?
Oh, that's nice. That's a hero shot right there.
You just have to answer questions.
You're recording, right?
Okay.
It's easy for you.
I'll just-
I shaved just enough around my mouth so like Mary wouldn't yell at me when I kissed her. You know what I mean? We're gonna try to rush this because we're about to go eat some really good barbecue. Just an FYI.
Best thing we do.
Or if it seems rushed, it's because we're really hungry and we're about to go eat barbecue. Did I answer the question good? How'd you come up with all
Time.
Gotcha.
I was a really lonely boy.
And if it works,
Yeah,
great. If
yeah,
not,
no, it will.